To proceed with this tutorial, TreeCAD is required to be installed. We'll present in this tutorial some of the program's characteristics, and in particular, we'll see some utility functions of the file and database structure. It's about a technical tutorial requiring a good knowledge of Windows and of SQL Server, but it will be required later on to understand how the TreeCAD program works. ECAD Util is the most important program for the catalog maintenance. We'll always find the ECAD Util icon on the desktop after the program installation. This utility allows several functions. We may see them here listed. The creation of a new catalog, catalogs backup and restore, catalogs copy and cancellation. The program also allows the database maintenance, which are part of the catalog, which may be independently managed by the catalog, backup and restore. Launching ECAD Util, we'll see the catalogs list currently installed. It's possible to create a new catalog, and we'll name it Tutorial. From this function, it's possible to make a backup of a catalog. Usually the backup is a file with BCP extension. The zip format may be chosen. A catalog may be canceled from a BCP file. A catalog may be restored and therefore restore it with different names. Similar operations may also be done on the database. A particular database exists called ECAD Master, and it's the one where all of the orders are memorized. It's the only database necessary besides the catalogs database. A database is created for each catalog. It's important to set up the path of the catalog's backup, usually on a /back file inside the TreeCAD service. In our case, the TreeCAD is set on a EV ECAD. In case a network service is used, the client folder and server folder are different. The backup path visibility must correspond between client and server. These two checkboxes deserve attention. The first allows to copy the catalog excluding the source files, and therefore only the compiled files. We'll talk about this later on. The compiled files allow to distribute a catalog without the original versions of the rules, 3D and JPEG files. The second function allows to perform a backup of the database in the bulk format. This function is useful when you want to go back to a SQL Server previous version. At this point, let's go and see in detail how the TreeCAD has installed the different files in the various folders. Let's open the EV ECAD folder where we have installed the program and can see a series of subfolders. The /back subfolder contains the database's backup. The ECAD Pro subfolder is the one we will see shortly. The export and import subfolder permit to memorize the three-dimensional files importation and to export in different formats the 3D files. The subfolder SketchUp actually contains the files imported from the SketchUp, and then there are the subfolders for each catalog. There also may be other subfolders. Let's see, for example, this photo subfolders that contains the images created by the rendering. Let's begin from the _ECAD Pro folder, which is a generic folder where all of the standard files are kept that are not dependent from the catalog. In this folder, different files are kept. Let's begin from ECAD Pro INI, which is the environment configuration file. They are the database configuration files that are in DDF and SQL format. They are the files with which the program adapts the database to the various customizations that are possibly created. The _proto BCP file is the catalog's backup that is used as a prototype for the creation of new catalogs. Replacing this file, we can, on the creation of a new firm, insert functions that were basically already created. The ERG files and the ERX files are rules. The ERG is the source version of the rule. The ERX is the compiled version. It's not the only extension used for the rules. We here see SQR and SQX. Normally, the compiled one changes the last letter of the extension in an X, and it corresponds to the article generator. They are the article generating rules which we'll see ahead. The normal rules are of the ERG type. A common jQuery version is used and is placed within this folder with other things. Let's see at this point the content of the folders. The job folder holds the job processing, which we'll see ahead. The mat-based folder contains the system files used by TreeCAD. In particular, it's for the location and setting of the rendering. These are configuration files that aren't normally maintained by the user, but are automatically updated by the program. The order file holds quotations and orders in the EVE format. The EVE format is a TreeCAD binary format. The PRT folder contains the walls files. In this case, it's empty because in the orders and walls default configuration, they are in the same folder. It's possible to distinguish the order from the setting in different files, although it's not advisable. The printer folder contains all of the prints on STN and STX extension formats. Even if these are rules, every rule is editable and modifiable based on the need. The procedure folder contains the TreeCAD extensions. Here we can see that the extensions have different formats. HTML, actually the menu which makes the connection, is named Master HTM. DLLs are extensions proper to the program, therefore some are written by TreeCAD and others are written by the users and customized if need be. BBS are the work functions for the program. We'll look into these settings in detail. Now in detail some files of this folder. Let's begin from the ECAD Pro INI file. This file holds the configurations or the options pertaining to general operation of the TreeCAD in general. 3 ECAD Pro INI files actually exist. We'll cover them later on. The most important lines of this file are the first two, the used language and the database connecting system. Now let's pass to the DDF ECAD Pro DDF file. This is a file of one of our formats which is described in a ASCII format, the structure used in the TreeCAD charts. We'll look into the chart structure in detail, at least the main ones, later on. Suffice to say that every group, we mean for group what is enclosed between the braces, represents a chart, and every line here represents the structure of every single field.
A SQL file exists that holds all of the SQL transact format instructions to build or rebuild from scratch every stored procedure or function added to the database. Let's move on to the content of the procedure folder and look at the most important file, which is the master.htm. Actually, this is a file with which we set the program's customization interface. It's a ASCII file, HTML standard. It's a file that can be modified at will, and it's a file that connects all of the different functions and extensions within the TreeCAD. For example, let's see the association instruction that is translated by this function. DAULNT states the installation, the internal type, the name of the internal installation, associa.
In parallel, this one is an external procedure, therefore DAUPROC, which is another suffix, anagrafica crea, and this is the name of the class that must follow a certain edge format to create the format of the edges. Let's further verify the content of the underscore ECAD Pro folder. The main files, the control files, the mat-based folder that holds the setup and the files for the location, the orders folder where the quotations and orders are saved, the print folder which holds all of the program's extensions and customizations, the job folder which holds the instructions for the cutting and drilling. There may be other folders of some specific use, for example the label folder or some other folder linked to the program. Let's analyze at this point the content of a specific folder of a catalog. Let's open the tutorial folder. and look at some subfolders. The 3ds folder holds all of the files of the 3-dimension format. The 3ds files are the most used. Obviously, others are, but there are even the scripts type files. The script folder is a subfolder of the 3ds folder, and it holds the scripts in XP format. Actually, the XP format are parametric scripts within the 3CAD, written using VB scripts. The photo folder holds instead the images. The images that may be needed for the mapping, for the materials, for the variance display, and other things. The HTML folder holds the customizations of the user's interface pertaining to the catalog. In the main folder, we find the rules. The rules are always in ERG source format and ERX compile format. There is a configuration file even for the catalog. It's always named ECAD Pro INI. It holds other setup settings. Different bin type files exist that contains the compile of the base structure of the rules environment. Let's move on to another catalog to look at other files. The DB folder holds the master and service database backups using a database in DDF format for the charts and SQL formats for the procedures, used to rebuild the database if needed. The underscore proto folder holds the macros. In this catalog, it's empty. Let's also see in the main folder series of files in the VBS format. The VBS files are recalculations or extended functions of the rules that allow determined particular operations such as the final recalculation. When we create a catalog, we use or create from scratch some of these files. Let's look at a 3ds folders subfolder. In this folder, we may see the graphic original files in the X format and the files compiled in the DR3D format. In the same way, the source file in JPG format and the compile file in DRG1 format. This compiling is used to lighten the programs. Usually the compiled programs are of smaller size and to protect the client's investment that doesn't want to distribute source files. Now let's analyze the content of the catalog. There are several files in the catalog's main folder. They are usually the compile rules and sources, the configuration file and some scripts. Then some mandatory subfolders are present and the 3ds folder that contains the 3D formats, the 3ds/script which contains the scripts in the XP format, the IMG or photo folder, and the HTML folder. Each of these folders may have subfolders. The main files extensions are the ERG and the ERX for the source and compiled rules, the XP and the VBS for what is concerned the script files. The compile rules are binary files and the configuration rules are the INI files. The graphic is memorized in DRG1 for the photos and DR3D for the 3-dimensional files. These are our original programs compiling and optimization. The 2D and 3D compatible files are described below.